Sounds
Scientists,
nice.
I know. It sounds cool, like you'd name your kid that, right?
It sounds like a nice place to take a vacation, like a honeymoon.
That's right. We're going to Raphe, honey.
Yeah.
So the Raphe nuclei have serotonin neurons in them, and they go all over the brain. And when we go in with an electrode to record the electrical activity, we would say, oh, maybe there's 2 or 3 different kinds of neurons that use serotonin in the Raphe. Well, it turns out now we've got techniques where we can take these neurons one by one and analyze the genes that are turned on in each of those, in each individual cell. So there's like 20,000 genes in the genome. A typical cell might express 12,000 genes, have those turned on. And that varies a bit from neuron to neuron. So you can say, how many flavors of serotonin neurons are there in the Raphe? Turns out there's 14 flavors.
Wow.
In the Raphe. Well, probably only some of those have to do with depression. And some of them have to do with other things, maybe some of the bad side effects that you don't want from your SSRIs. So what this means is that this kind of knowledge, knowing all these different subtypes, means that maybe that can be the basis of knowledge to develop therapies that are more specific, that will work on the mood-altering serotonin neurons and leave the other ones alone and be able to have us make a better drug or a better therapy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've loved a lot of your work. I saw you had a great conversation with Andrew Huberman, and he was just on recently. He's a very fascinating guy, a lot of information, and he's great at sharing information out into the world. I believe he's a great conduit for information. I wanted to talk to you about love, I guess, right? I figure it might be a neat place to start, kind of. Did human beings always love, or was that something that we learned over time?
Well, that's a hard thing to know. We can't look at the fossils and know whether people loved. What we do know about humans is that our mating system is really, really, really unusual. All right? So humans have a system where in one a woman's cycle, she usually is only mating with one guy. Paternity is usually pretty accurate. Like if you go all around the world and you do genetic testing on kids and you say, is the father really the long-term partner, spouse, whatever of the mom? About 95% of the time, paternity is accurate. It doesn't matter where you go in the world, some jungle village in Malaysia, New York City, it's the same. Paternity is accurate. Human dads, for the most part, tend to stick around and help. Either they help, by changing diapers and actually taking care of the baby, or they provide resources, but one way or another, they help. Humans have most of their sex recreationally. They go all through the cycle, whereas most animals are only interested in sex when the female is in heat. Right? These things make mating behavior in humans like extremely rare across, if we look at our mammalians cousins, very few have that. And it's very rare to take care of children.
So these characteristics are unique to humans.
These are, not entirely. You've probably heard about like these penguins, for example, that rear the young together. And you've probably seen the nature movie where the egg is on the feet and they take care of it. So I'm not saying it's absolutely unique to humans, but the human situation is really, really unusual. Part of the reason it's unusual is because human children are unusually useless, right? There's no other animal except a human where a 5-year-old can't make its way in the world. Only humans. You need your parents. When you're 5, you need your parents. If you're an elephant 5-year-old, if you're an orangutan 5-year-old, if you're a mouse, well, you don't live till 5-year-old, but this is a unique human thing. So what that means is that whereas an orangutan mom can take care of her kid by herself just fine. Doesn't matter that the dad wanders off into the forest and doesn't help at all. For humans, it really matters. Parental contribution really matters. So long-term pair bonding really matters. And this is a really long, circuitous kind of answer about love. So if you're going to say, well, why do we have love? And is love something central to being human? I'm going to guess and say, yeah, our first Homo sapiens 200,000 years ago in Africa probably had love too, because they had the biological situation that made it so that you needed to have long-term pair bonding to help take care of kids and help the genes that you got into the next generation survive long enough to be viable. And then you sort of think, well, why is that? Why are human kids so hopeless, so helpless, compared to other animals? Well, when a baby is born, its brain is about 400 cubic centimeters in volume.
How big is that?
Well, so, about like my fist.
Okay.
Right? And an adult brain is about 3 times that, 1,200. So you got to go from 400 to 1,200. We need big brains to be clever. Humans are pretty clever compared to most other critters. And so you might just say, well, all right, like why not just make the birth canal bigger and give birth to a baby with a really, really big head and then have a childhood that's not so protracted. But the problem, we think, is that in order to do that, you couldn't have women walk upright anymore. In other words, the hips would then get too messed up to walk upright.
Right, it would probably bring the front of them down. It'd probably be almost a quad pedal or whatever it's called.
That's right. So probably upright posture limits the degree. As it is right now, human childbirth is really difficult compared to childbirth in most animals. There are very, very, very few animals that regularly die in childbirth. Humans are one. Hyenas are another, because hyenas give birth to something called a pseudophallus. The females actually have something that looks like a dick, and their vagina goes down through the middle of it, and they give birth through that.
Wait, what? Sorry, David, I have never heard this. Bring up a little bit of that.
There's a good picture of the outside of it dangling down there.
Oh, dang. And that's on a woman?
And that is on a woman.
Wow.
That's right. So the hyena, you don't want to mess with a female hyena. Well, you don't want to mess with a hyena generally. But the whole reason I got to hyena genitals, which is a weird thing to talk about. I mean, you probably didn't think we were going to talk about that when you woke up this morning.
I did not at all. Here we go right here. Then there's an image of it.
So female hyenas give birth through this pseudophallus. And it's really hard, not surprisingly. Just think it's like, pushing a potato through a hose or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
right?
I couldn't do it.
And female humans, it's not as bad, but still, giving birth is super crazy dangerous. And women die in childbirth and babies die in childbirth, and you need to do C-sections and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. This is not a normal thing if you look in the animal kingdom. Most mammals give birth just fine. There aren't so many problems. We have that problem because even giving birth to that 400 cc brain is like right on the edge of being possible for human women.
Oh, that's pretty fascinating. So even that, down to the millimeter, centimeter of it, it's very precarious.
Yeah, it's very precarious. And
precise. If you look at it.
Things have to go right. There's all kinds of ways for things to go wrong during childbirth, as women will tell you, as OB-GYNs will tell you. And to get back to love, right? So then now you got this 400 cc baby that is hopeless, right? And in order for the brain to mature, that takes 20 years. I mean, that's a ridiculously long amount of time. That's a really, really, really long childhood. So maybe you can make your way independently, before 20, but not that much before.
Right, and you
20.
need support.
And you need support. And so to have a social system that promotes that, that's where love comes from, to get all the way back to your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be love, from your parent. It could be love that even comes from a society. It could be, that love could then be in different forms, kind of.
Well, absolutely right. In the sense, so yes, we can talk about romantic love, which is the kind most of us think about, but there are all these other important kinds of love. And to some certain extent, it actually does reduce to that. It reduces to getting your